Brian Lara averages 82.5 against spin in Test cricket. He has a strike rate of above 65, and he has been talking about his many battles against Muralitharan and Shane Warne. The Prince of Trinidad and Tobago did not make any mention of batting marbles with broomsticks, but instead he credited tennis ball cricket with his ability to play spin bowling so well. Averaging 71.6 against Shane Warne and an even higher average of 124 against Muralitharan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Forum. Thank you for tuning in. Please slash a like on the video, share, and subscribe. And click on the links in the video descriptions and support those entities that are supporting the Cricket Forum. In 1992, West Indies barely hung on to draw the first Test match at the Gabba in Brisbane, losing 8 wickets in their second innings. In the second Test match, which is widely called the Boxing Day Test match at the Melbourne Oval, Shane Warne spun a web around the West Indies in their second innings, claiming 7 wickets to give Australia a 1-love lead after 2 matches. It was on to the New Year Test at the Sydney Cricket Ground. It is said that before the test, there was a lot of concern in the West Indies camp about Shane Warne. And Brian Lara stood up and said, "Don't worry about Shane Warne. I will take him." The rest is history. In 372 balls, in which he drove, he flicked, he pulled, he cut, by hitting 38 boundaries, in a magnificent innings of 278 run-out, in carrying the West Indies to 509 declare, eventually the match drawn, as Australia respond with 606, and West Indies in their second innings 117 without loss. The remaining 2 matches, the West Indies won comfortably. Who can forget Ambrose 7 for 1 at Perth, the West Indies winning the series 2-1. Brian Lara have been crediting the softball cricket, the tennis ball cricket that he has played in Trinidad for his ability to play against spin. He didn't talk about the lack of infrastructure because there were none. And many of us know that in the West Indies, it is dedication to the game that will make the great and the not so great and the good. I, for one, cannot bat softball. I've never yet made 10 in a softball game. But Brian Lara have credited softball cricket with his ability. We played with tennis ball. This is what he said to the In Due Time in that interview. We played with tennis ball, and you can actually chuck the tennis ball. In softball cricket, you can chuck it into the pitch and turn it a mile. And I felt that was a huge part of my understanding how to play spin from an early age. If you were to ask me spin or pace, I'll tell you spin every single day. It just came as something natural. Those are the words of Brian Lara, crediting softball, crediting tennis ball for his ability to play spin. The rumors and the favor that he used to bat marble with broomsticks, he made no mention of that. He said tennis ball, practicing and practicing. And as he said, the tennis ball can turn square, and that's why batting spin have become so natural to him. He went on further to say, and this is very important, a lot of people try to read off the pitch. I think that's a bit too late. So I'm trying to understand what's coming out of the bowler's hand. That means he was reading the spin from out of the bowler's hand. Not like our batsmen nowadays. No disrespect to Powell or Puran, but it's clear that these batsmen are not reading the spinner out of their hand. They are waiting for it to pitch to see what it is doing. And as Brian Lara said, that is too late. You have to read it from out of the hand. I remember after the second ODI against New Zealand at Sabina Park, someone went up to Phil Simmons and said, Simmons, can these guys pick the googlies? Simmons laughed. He laughed. I don't know how to interpret that, but I interpret it, however, as no. If you are waiting on the ball to pitch, to read it off the pitch, the great man himself, Brian Lara, who averages 124 against Muralitharan. Muralitharan have over 800 test wickets to be the leading test wicket taker in cricket. And Brian Lara is saying that you have to read it out of the hand. Shane Warne, over 700 test wicket. And Brian Lara is saying you have to read it out of the hand. He went on further to say, I read Shane Warne quite easily. But what made him great was the fact that he never gave up. And he was always going to come out and produce something to confuse you. Yes, Brian Lara said he read Shane Warne easily. That's how good Brian Lara was. And he credited to playing tennis ball cricket, a lot of tennis ball cricket, not bowling machines, not throw down tennis ball cricket. And he was able to read Shane Warne easily. With Muralitharan, what Muralitharan didn't realize is that for the first 20 minutes of every innings, I really was not reading him. I kept sweeping and getting a single, getting off strike. Because Lara was saying that Muralitharan knew that he could out the other batsmen. So when he comes to the crease, they usually spread the field to give him a single. And he was not talking about tail enders. He was talking about top order batsmen. When Lara come to the crease for the first 20 minutes, he could not pick Muralitharan, but he had a plan. Does our batsmen have a plan to play the bowlers they are confronting? Who's giving them trouble? That's a question to be asked. The great man said, I have a plan to sweep him. And I kept sweeping him and getting singles because for the first 20 minutes, I prefer to watch it from the non-striker end. Muralitharan was harder to face at the beginning of the innings. But as I got better out in the middle, Warne became more difficult because he seems to get better. So clearly what the big man is saying is that Muralitharan was harder to face at the beginning, but the longer you bat, Shane Warne was harder to face because Shane Warne is always trying something new. He's always coming up with something to try and confuse you. But in the end, he was able to read Shane Warne from out of the hand. That's what the big man knew. Oh, yes, he said Muralitharan knew he could get the rest of the players out. So the field would spread and I would get a single. He knew that he could get the rest of the West Indies batsmen out. And as I said before, he was not talking about singles. He was not talking about tail enders. He was talking about the other 10 batsmen in the team. So he would give Brian Lara singles to bowl to the other 10 batsmen. But Lara was glad for this because as Lara said, for the first 20 minutes of his innings, he was unable to pick Muralitharan. So the great man, in summary, the great man said, tennis ball cricket, softball cricket is what allowed me to play spin bowling so well. That is why it came natural to me. Not bowling machine, but tennis ball cricket. Not any infrastructure, tennis ball cricket, more than likely with bunker bat. And he was able to pick the bowlers out of their hand. And he's saying, if you wait until the ball pitch, that is too late. You are going to get yourself in trouble. Those were the words of the great man himself, Brian Lara. Brian Lara, who had scored over 11,953 test runs against the greatest two spinners of all time, is saying that you have to pick the bowling out of your hand. Good evening, host. Lock of viewing, lock and viewing. That is why most spinners hide the ball behind their backs nowadays. But yes, Deverell McPherson, thank you and welcome to the show. But even so, there comes a time when they have to move it from behind them. And I'm sure that Brian Lara is talking about when the ball is being delivered. I'm sure about that. Because there comes a time you cannot bowl it from behind you. So Lara was able to pick it from out of the hand. And it is not hard. It just takes practice and dedication. Blessed Salisha Mohammed, it just takes practice and dedication for you to pick the ball out of the hand. So Brian Lara, probably the second greatest batsman of all time, in my opinion, was picking the bowlers from out of their hand. On to other news. India beat Sri Lanka comfortably this morning by 4 wickets to take a 2-0 series lead in their 3-match ODI series. And in the other ODI match that is going on, other ODI series that is going on presently, Pakistan and New Zealand is locked at 1-1, and the third and final match will be played tomorrow morning at 4:30 a.m. Jamaica time, 5:30 in the Eastern Caribbean. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please flash a like on the video, share and subscribe, and click on those links in the video description and support Best Buy and Soulmate Cricket Shoes who are supporting the program. Thank you all and have a blessed evening. Take care.